Ex-prisoners of Reddit. What was the scariest thing you saw whilst on the inside? Where I was, the guard towers were armed with a variety of less than lethal firearms. A fight started on the breezeway, the main walkway between units. You hear the siren and you have about 10 seconds to sit on your ass and cover your head to protect from overspray, or else the guards will start shooting shotguns loaded with rubber balls at you. One of the guards hit one of the guys fighting directly in the sack with a rubber balls round. They turned the front of his jeans red by the time they got him up and to the infirmary. Apparently lost a testicle due to rupture. I have a friend who used to work in corrections. They had an inmate who had a habit of assaulting and raping other inmates. This guy was serving a life sentence for murdering his grandparents, raping grandma before and after the murder, and mutilating the corpses. He had been in since the 1980s and nobody had been able to live with him because he was such a dangerous maniac. They decided to bunk him with a huge guy who was in for a ton of gang-related, violent offenses. My friend said that Department of Corrections figured that since the new cellmate was 30 years younger and covered in muscles he would be able to handle himself. Within the first few days the big cellmate asked for protective custody and claimed he had been raped. It seems that this old rapey murderer had made a bet with his new cellmate that whoever could do the most push-ups would get the better bunk in the cell. After our young gang member cranked out a ton of push-ups, he was so tired that he couldn't stop the beating and rape that followed. Last I heard, old rapey murderer had a room to himself. The rape was never prosecuted because the gang member was unwilling to testify because he couldn't risk people finding out. Not me, but my husband was in prison as a young adult. He said that they had a way of checking your ego in the spot he was at. The toughest guys would come up to you on your first day and ask how many push-ups you could do. If you were smart you would just sort of blow it off or laugh it off and move on. If you were a stupid show-off or had something to prove you would claim a large number or talk yourself up. If you did that then they would be all friendly and be like, oh, let's see it. So the poor guy would do as many push-ups as they could. The tough guys would gas the new guy up, acting friendly, pushing him to do more. They acted impressed and joked around. Then as soon as the new guy had done as many push-ups as possible they would jump him and beat him up. He would be helpless to resist because he had maxed himself out on push-ups. Afterwards any guy with an ego was normally really quiet for the remainder of their stay. I spent a couple weeks in county jail. On the first day, when we were all being processed into the facility, strip, bend over, spread your cheeks, and cough, we were told very succinctly to never ever even joke about suicide while in the facility. Kinda like how you just don't say bomb on an airplane anymore. By day 3, I had a good understanding of the other guys I was locked up with. I was physically the biggest of the white guys in our pod, so all the white kids huddled around my table at meals to keep away from the Hispanic folks and the black folks. Yes. There are 3 teams in correctional facilities whether you like it or not. There was one kid in the group that seemed underdeveloped mentally. He probably had a learning disability among other things. But he essentially acted like a 12-year-old. I knew early on he was going to get himself in trouble because he never stopped talking or moving, and he was rubbing everyone the wrong way. I tried to tell him to chill out and be invisible, but he was not understanding what I was telling him. I had been there a week, when the 12-year-old finally lost his cool completely. He was in the shower, singing and joking around, putting on a performance that went too far, and he pooped on the floor as a joke. After the other guys in the shower grabbed their towels and ran, he proceeded to kick the poop all over the walls and into the other shower stalls. I didn't shower for the rest of my stay. Truth be told, It turned into a big scene, and then when the trustees came in to clean up the poop all over the walls, it turned into an even bigger scene. The whole time, the 12-year-old was locked in a cell near the showers, laughing and joking as other inmates had to clean up his poop and make the shower area sanitary again. State-run facilities have standards after all. The next day, everyone was looking at the 12-year-old with hate in their eyes, kinda like Gomer Pyle in Full Metal Jacket. Everyone missed their showers the day prior due to the poopsident, and then the kid was still up to his antics at breakfast the next day. Everyone got really cold toward him, even openly mean. I'll admit, I started ignoring him completely after the poop. It took him a day or two to realize he was hated by all, and then his personality changed dramatically. He became sad, despondent, and started talking to the COs because the other inmates wouldn't talk to him anymore. He fucked up, and told the COs that he should just harm himself and make everyone happy, and that was all it took. They dragged out the blue burrito. This is the scariest thing I had seen in jail. The blue burrito was a 10-foot-long blue foam mat, like you would use in gym class, with two 12-foot-long red belts attached. They laid it out on the floor, forced the 12-year-old to lay on the mat, and then they rolled him up with his arms at his sides into the blue burrito. The two long red belts clipped together at the top and bottom of the burrito, keeping it all nice and tight. This was the suicide protocol at the jail. No counseling, no medical ward. You lose the ability to move. They put that poor bastard in the burrito around 8 p.m., dragged him into his cell and left him laying on the floor, wrapped up tight, until breakfast the next morning, around 8 a.m. The child molesters and gang members in protective custody get to eat breakfast first. Imagine being unable to move, barely able to breathe, with no end in sight for 12 hours on the floor of your 8x8 cell. My cell was up above his, and I heard him weeping and moaning in agony all night. He didn't say a word to anyone, or look anyone in the eye for that matter, for the rest of the time I was there. One night in the blue burrito broke him. Surely the blue burrito goes against your human rights? I was told it's for your safety. If you say you are going to harm yourself, you lose the right to move your body freely for your own protection. Once you are inside, you are subhuman until you leave. It may have been for your safety, but I'm pretty sure that is illegal. A straitjacket would have allowed the 12-year-old to at least breathe properly. I did a couple of years when I was young and dumb. The craziest shit I saw was actually in the county jail and not the state prison. The county jail was right on the Texas-Mexico border, so there were a lot of Hispanics. What was weird was the Hispanics born in America and the Mexicans from Mexico absolutely hated each other. I saw a Hispanic from Texas heat up a bowl of water until it was boiling in the microwave. We had microwaves in the tank, and he then proceeded to throw the boiling water on the Mexican from Mexico's face and then beat the ever-loving shit out of him. That dude's screams will haunt me forever. I also saw a guy take a blade from a small pencil sharpener, tie it to a toothbrush and then slice a guy's face from ear to ear while he was sleeping. The guy lived, but it looked like a fucking murder scene. I can't speak for jail or prison, but I can talk about my experience with inpatient psychiatric facilities. I'm about to graduate nursing school and had my psych rotation last semester. Patients are not always sedated, or they may be given a mild sedative. If they are actively threatening self-harm, the patient is placed on what is called a one-to-one. A staff member is assigned to be with the patient at all times, including while the patient is using the toilet or showering. They take extreme measures to lessen the risk of self-harm. No shoelaces allowed, no hand sanitizer. They will drink it to make themselves sick, making them open their mouths after taking meds to check that they haven't hidden pills under their tongues, etc. regarding physical restraints. Padded rooms and straitjackets were not utilized in the facility where I had my rotation, and we were taught that they are generally considered unethical. However, a patient who is a threat to others may be placed in 4-point restraints, wrists and ankles tied to the bed, for a specific amount of time. This requires a doctor's order. The order is only good for 4 hours max, and the restraints must be loosened every 2 hours. If there is still an indication for restraints after 4 hours, another order must be written. The patient is always on a 1-to-1 when in restraints. Again, I can't speak for correctional facilities, but the whole point of psychiatric wards these days is to heal the patient, whereas in the past the idea was to lock them away and throw away the key. Removal from society. Things have changed and there are laws in place to regulate treatment of patients.